You're listening to the Deranged Nation, a true crime podcast featuring New York Times best-selling paranormal romance author and your host, Teresa Gableman.
Welcome to Deranged Nation, take 45.
Yeah, having a hard time getting started.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, but we're here.
Welcome back
go,
for the fourth or fifth time.
Yeah.
So how's everybody's week?
Good.
Good?
Good.
Rainy?
Right here.
Yeah, we've got a lot of rain.
I think.
It was nice for a couple days.
Yeah, and then monsoon, puddles everywhere. But, pretty excited. We got some fast internet now.
Yeah.
So that's
Been a long
some
time
news.
coming.
Yeah, it has. All right, guys, we're on episode 13, A Parent's Nightmare. Larry Gene Bell, total asshole.
Definitely an
Yeah, this guy
asshole.
was a dick. He was a true dick.
Yeah, and
He
you'll
deserved what he got.
yeah, definitely deserved what he got. But before we start, real quick, there's been we are in Ohio, and there's been a lot of missing girls about the same age, between 16 and 19, 20 years old. And one that really struck me, because I seen her mom, and being a mom myself, but just being a human being, just to see this mom's pain, it was really hard. But I posted on, I don't know if you guys are Facebook friends with me, but I posted, for shares, and I think I haven't looked lately, but I think I had like over 46 shares for people to be on the lookout. So I am going to mention it here. They still haven't found her. She's been missing since 5/17. So it's past 48 hours.
Yeah.
Which is scary in itself. But her name is Madison Bell. She went by Maddie, 18 years old. She was last seen leaving her residence on 5/17. And her mom really didn't know what she was wearing, because her boyfriend was sleeping on the couch, and I guess Maddie just yelled out. Her mom was cleaning and said, "Hey, I'm going to go tan. I'll be back in a little bit."
Right.
And her mom said that even when, her daughter is in line at McDonald's, it's a long line, and you know how it is up here in town.
Right.
Sometimes you're in line for half a
Yeah.
freaking hour. But, she'll text and say, "Hey, I'm going to be a little late." So this was totally unlike her. Within an hour when she wasn't home, they tried to call her phone. She wouldn't answer. But anyway, her and the mother and the boyfriend took off looking for her car, thinking maybe she crashed. They were looking in the ditches. But her car was located in a parking lot. It was a church parking lot. And this all happened in Greenfield, Ohio.
Highland County.
Highland County.
Yeah.
And a couple of people had said they had seen a white 4-door Nissan sedan with California plates in the church parking lot a few times that morning. And so they're having everybody on the lookout for that. But we're going to post this. She is white. She is 5'7", 125 pounds, average build, brown hair, brown eyes, but she sometimes wears blue or gray contacts. So we will post this on the Facebook page, and it should be up by tomorrow or the next day. So if you guys see that and you can share, that would be amazing.
Yeah, share it out there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I hope they find... I hope they find her.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine what the family's going through.
It's kind of ironic that her last name's Bell.
I know. That is kind of crazy.
Whoa, that is a weird, odd coincidence. I never even realized that.
She's such a beautiful girl,
Yeah,
too.
she is.
And she was so excited, because this week, you know how the graduations with the COVID is going now.
Yeah.
And I'm so
She
sick of
wouldn't have
saying
missed
that
it.
word.
Senior skip day champions is what they're calling themselves now.
And they are, definitely.
Right?
Really?
I think we have one
I don't know.
day.
That would suck though, man. Not getting to finish out your sports. I feel bad for the athletes that didn't get that.
I can't imagine.
Didn't get that senior year.
Yeah.
That'd
So
be
shout
terrible.
Sports in,
Yeah. a shout
And they'll
out to all
never
the
get that
2020
back.
grads.
Yeah.
Definitely. So yeah, okay, on to our podcast here. So Larry Jean Bell. On Friday, May 31st, 1985, year after I graduated, Sharon Sherry Faye Smith, she went by Shari, was abducted at her mailbox at approximately 3:25 p.m. Her parents said she always checked the mail. On that day, her mother looked out the window of their house and seen Sherry's car in the driveway at the end of the road by the mailbox. She told her husband, Bob, that Shari was home. And after a few minutes, the father looked out the window and saw that Sherry's car was still parked, where they had last seen it.
Yeah.
He became concerned and you'll find out why, when his daughter didn't continue up the 750-foot driveway, which is I don't know what ours is. We have a pretty long driveway too. So I was trying to look at that and see if it had been about the same distance.
It ain't no 700. It ain't no 750 feet.
So that's further than what ours is.
Yeah, it's probably like
maybe where your
3 or
neighbors
4
is
of our
behind.
Driveways.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but
Our
I guess you
driveway's
could
only
see it
like,
from the
or,
house,
well,
though, through the window.
Yeah. Well, he did have a visual of the car. I was just trying to think, could he actually see if
Right.
she was still in the car?
Yeah.
How far? I'm not real good
Right.
with distance like that. Anyway, so he got in the car, and when he didn't see no sight of her around the car at the mailbox, and took off down there. Still didn't see her anywhere. The car was running, and the door of the driver's side was open. Her purse, her towel, and her shoes were in the car. He also opened up her purse and saw that her medication was inside. Shari had a rare form of diabetes that required her to drink large quantities of water and take her medication. And one thing was, she never went anywhere without her medication.
Right.
So he freaked out, which of course he would, and he drove back to the house, telling his wife that Shari was gone, and called Lexington County Sheriff's, reporting her missing. They responded immediately. Air teams were called as the emergency division of the governor's office set up a tractor trailer operation in front of the Smith home. So they took it pretty serious
Yeah.
right away, and I think, knowing that she had this rare disorder and her medicine to be in there, then
Right.
something was going on. So on Saturday, they received a phone call from a man saying he had Shari and he wanted money. But they found out later that call was a hoax. The police began checking out calls of sightings of suspicious vehicles in the area around the time of the incident. One call was from 2 males who had traveled on Platte Springs Road between 3 and 3:15 p.m. that Friday. As they passed, they saw Shari at the mailbox and the car in the driveway. They remembered a car coming toward them, going in the direction of the Smith driveway, and as the car passed, a witness glanced in his rearview mirror and saw the taillights light up, and the car stopped at the mailbox. They reported it looked like an 82, 84 Oldsmobile Cutlass, reddish purple in color, and the driver looked to be in his 30s. Approximately 5 to 10 minutes later, the 2 males drove past the mailbox again, and they saw her car, but not her. So that was witnesses that they actually seen a car that
How
pulled up
old was
there.
she again?
She
was young, right?
17.
17 or 18?
Yeah.
17.
17.
17.
Yes.
She was really pretty too.
She's gorgeous. Yeah.
Super blonde hair.
Mm-hmm.
Her sister was 21.
Yeah, her
And
older
really, really
Dawn.
blue eyes.
So, that day, what had happened, the last people that saw her, Shari's boyfriend Richard had met her at the Lexington post office in downtown Lexington on Friday morning. This is South Carolina. Together, they met Shari's mother at a Lexington bank around 11:15 a.m. to get traveler's checks for Shari to take on her senior trip to the Bahamas after her graduation that Sunday. So, and that's even crazy too, the similar her graduate,
Yeah.
Madison. Yeah, that's gave me chills.
Yeah.
I really never really put two and two together.
know.
That's really crazy. But anyway. So after her mother left, Richard, Shari, and their friend Brenda parked their cars in Lexington Town Square and around 11:30 a.m. and rode together to a swimming party at Lake Murray, just a few miles away. And they go in to say what she wore, which is important. Shari was wearing a white baggy shorts, yellow tank top over a yellow and black polka dot two-piece swimsuit. She had a beach bag packed with extra bathing suit, towel, black jelly shoes. I'm trying to remember what back in the 80s what the jelly shoes were, and I cannot. I wanted to Google it, and I totally forgot. But anyway. So,
Jelly shoes.
if you know, comment.
Yes.
Oh, hold on, I'll look them up.
Yeah, look it up, because I remember that, but I cannot remember what they look like. And a white and black striped shirt that she had worn to school that day. She called her mother from the party around 2:30 p.m., and then shortly afterward, around 2:45, Shari, Richard, and Brenda left the party and drove back to the shopping center to pick up their cars. Brenda left, and Richard and Shari spent a few minutes together in the parking lot talking and, I'm sure, smooching, you know. That's what we called it back in the 80s. No, I never called it that. I really didn't. Oh, shoot. So, after necking.
Oh, God.
Yeah, they're necking. They kissed goodbye and departed in separate cars. Richard followed Shari to the point of Highway 1, heading toward home. And as he went past the bank clock in the parking lot, he noted the time at 3:05 p.m. So, yeah. I know. That's the last anybody's seen her. On Sunday, June 2nd, Shari was supposed to graduate from Lexington High School and was scheduled to sing the Star Spangled Banner with her classmates, classmate Andy and New. And, of course, that didn't happen.
Right. And you'd think there'd be reason behind it, like if he had motive or something, too. There was no motive.
No, this dude was just a total whack job, asshole. I can even in my
Senseless.
notes, I put in my own words that I felt.
Sexually assaulted.
Or
am I getting ahead of this?
Yeah, you're getting ahead of. Hang on there, reining in there. So this is where it starts getting really crazy.
I was just thinking of the motive.
Right, yeah.
Dude, with this guy.
No, but I mean, like, his choice to pick her. You know what I mean? Like, what was it that made him decide, let me grab her?
Easy. Right. But the thing is, and you'll learn, I mean, you know, he was pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
I mean, right in front of her house.
I know.
And
where he took her.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure we'll get to.
So
it's kind of crazy.
I think the shoes were just like rubber,
like just
gel, like gel
them.
shoes.
Let me see.
Yeah, that's the jelly shoes. That was a big thing back in the 80s.
I remember those. I've had those. I've had those when I was little.
Yeah, these were big in the 80s.
You never had none of that. You never wore none of those.
I never wore any of them.
No, they didn't have no. What was it? Mellies. Some man jellies.
Dude, that might be $1 million. Oh, yeah. Cut that.
Nah.
I know. All right, let's get back.
We ain't got time for that shit.
This is kind of a long one, so let's get back here. So this is where it starts getting crazy. On Monday morning, June 3rd, a phone call came into the Smith house around 2:20 a.m., informing them that they would be getting a letter in the mail today from Shari around 1 or 2 o'clock. That was the usual time the Smith's mail was delivered. So think about that. This dude, he knew a lot.
Right.
About the family.
Right, and had been watching clearly.
Yeah, it makes you wonder.
Right.
The mail caller's voice sounded muffled and disguised. He told Miss Smith that he wanted to give them some information and tell them certain things so that they knew this was coming from Shari and that the call was not a hoax. The caller described in detail the outfit that Shari was wearing when Miss Smith last saw her at the bank. He told them at the top of the letter would be 6/1/85, the date, and the time would be 3:10 a.m. He said it had really been 3:12 a.m., but he had rounded it off. He ended with, "They are looking in the wrong place." Oh, there goes our alarm system. They are looking in the wrong place. Tell Sheriff Metz to get on TV at 7 a.m. on Channel 10 and call off the search. Okay, well, first of all, a phone call like that I would be flipping the hell out. So I give props to the Smith family.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to be calm. I'd be fucking wigging out.
And they're very Christian.
Yeah.
Listen here, motherfucker!
Oh, dude. I mean, some of these phone calls, and I've got the transcripts.
Well, you got to think about it this way,
No,
too.
but to be smart.
You're not in control
To get your,
with that moment.
Yeah.
To get my kid back, you know what I mean? You'd have to be.
Yeah, everybody's got that same feeling.
I'd be throwing up every time I hung up the phone, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I just couldn't imagine.
Put a bullet in his head.
So, by now, I mean, they realize that this guy is the one that definitely had Shari because he knew what she had been wearing in different things. Mm-hmm. No ransom demands were made, so money did not appear to be the issue. The call was not recorded, but Miss Smith took notes as the man talked. The call was traced, and you got to think this is 85.
Right.
1985. So what they can do now compared to what they could do then, it's really different.
Right.
But the
pinging any cell phones.
No. The call was traced through Alltel telephone records to a payphone outside of Taylor's store on Highway 378, about 5 miles outside of Lexington and 12 miles from the Smith home. Can you imagine knowing that the guy that has your daughter is 12 miles away?
I know.
Or was 12 miles away?
Yeah, it was.
Which means he's close and she's close, and you have to think about that.
Yeah.
They didn't know that for a little while.
Right. The caller was, well, what?
Well, it was hard to trace him. You had to keep somebody
they-
on the phone for more than 15 minutes to get a good trace.
Well, they end up, the call was...
He knew that, too.
Yeah.
Right.
They said he was smart. About
Yeah, he was
certain
getting off the
things.
phone.
He was an
within
electrician.
minutes.
Yeah.
He was an electrician.
The caller was gone by the time the officers arrived. The telephone was processed for prints, but none were found. So the letter that he said was coming, which will give you chills. The police intercepted the letter at the post office, but had Shari's father take the delivery of the letter. The letter was in a legal-sized envelope addressed to the Smiths with a mallard duck stamp. That's important, so remember that. With a mallard duck stamp in the right upper hand corner. Inside the envelope was the letter titled Last Will and Testament. And that still gives me chills every time I read it, every time I say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting that from your child or a loved one?
Yeah.
Not even your child. It was dated at the top where he said 6/1/85 at 3:10 a.m. They compared the handwriting in the letter to a copy of Shari's handwriting, and it positively matched. She is the one that wrote this. In Shari's last will and testament, she wrote that she loved them, that her family had been the greatest influence of her life. She wrote, "My thoughts will always be with you, ... bracket, closed casket bracket." And then continues on saying, "I love you also damn much. Sorry, Dad, I had to cuss for once." She apologized about the cruise and said someone should go in her place. She also said, "Please don't become hard or upset. Everything works out for the good for those who love the Lord." There were smiley faces on the letter as well as "God is love" written on one side. There's the actual letter. You can actually find that online.
Mm-hmm. We'll put it on the
read
page
it.
too.
Yeah. It was kind of hard for me to read everything, so I picked out,
Right.
the closed casket thing just...
Yeah. Well, she
Holy
wasn't
crap.
afraid to die, though. She was like,
He
Yeah, could
said-
you imagine having to write that letter?
That's all coming from him, though.
Right.
I mean, I know if
Well, the
you
way
were a
she
devout
wrote it-
Christian, then, but she had to have been terrified.
Yeah, of course.
17
But she
years
knew she
old.
was going to heaven.
Yeah, exactly. So another phone line was set up for incoming and outgoing calls at the Smith home. Also, a recording device was installed on their personal phone line. That Monday afternoon, June 3rd, at 3:08 p.m., a second call came into the Smith home. Their oldest daughter, Dawn, answered. The caller asked for Miss Smith, and Dawn asked if she could ask who was calling, and he said no. So she got her mom on the phone. The man asked if they had received the mail, and Miss Smith said that they had. Then he replied, "Do you believe me now?" Her mother replied, "Well, I'm not really sure I believe you because I haven't had any word from Shari, and I need to know that she is well." His reply was, "You will know in 2 to 3 days." I mean, this guy's a dick. I mean, doing that to a family.
Yeah. Fucking wacko.
Yeah. He only replied to that
Literal
with...
mental torture.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So his reply to that, or he and she said, "Why then?" Wait a minute. I've lost my place. Okay, "You'll know in 2 or 3 days." And then she replied, "Why then?" But he didn't answer that. He just said, "Call off the search." Miss Smith said, "Tell me if she is well because of her disease. Are you taking care of her?" And then at that point, the line went dead. So there's things back and forth that he says that he knew about her disease, and then he goes back and forth saying he didn't know about the disease, and
He's just whack.
yeah. This call was traced to an outside pay station at Eckerd's Pharmacy in Lexington Town Square Shopping Center, which is where she had met her mom the day she was abducted, which was about 7 miles from the Smith home. Again, the caller was gone and no evidence was found. So later that Monday afternoon, they appeared in front of their home and spoke to reporters for the first time, hoping to show their pain and suffering to draw the abductor out. They pleaded for her return, but it didn't work. So we all watched the Forensic Files. And what else? You guys watched something else about that too, didn't you?
Yeah, it was just a couple small, 8-10 minute clips.
Yeah, there's more online written than there actually was to watch. But I'm not going... You can find all the transcripts of the phone calls. I am going to read 1 or 2 real quick so you can just hear...
Yeah, the phone calls are...
Deranged.
Man, the phone calls are whacked.
Yeah. So the search has continued. All possible leads that came in were checked out. A call was received by a woman who reportedly saw the car near the Smiths that day. She gave a physical description of the driver: white male, clean shaven, receding thin hairline, slightly balding. Her description of the car corresponded with the 2 men who earlier gave the description to the police. So that's 2 males and the female that gave the same description of the car.
Right.
So they pretty much had the description.
Right.
So on Monday night about 8:07 p.m., the phone rang again at the Smith house and Dawn answered. The man asked, "Dawn, did you come from Charlotte?" "Yes, I did. Who is calling?" "I need to speak with your mother." Dawn says, "Okay, she's coming." He responded, "Tell her to hurry." And she said, "She's hurrying. Tell Shari I love her." And then he asked, "Did you all receive her letter today?" She responded with, "Yes, we did. Here's mother." And her mom got on the phone and said, "This is Hilda." And he asked, "Did you receive Shari Ray's letter?" "Pardon? Did I hear you? It's not very clear. Speak louder." And what they're trying to do is keep him on the phone for as long as possible.
Right.
And he said, "Did you receive the letter today?" She said, "Yes, I did." "Tell me one thing it said. Hurry." And she replied, "Shar Richard." "Do what?" "There was a little heart on the side. Shar Richard was written on the side." And do you guys remember seeing that? There was a bunch of little things that they put on there.
Yeah.
He asked how many pages. She responded 2 pages. And he said, "Okay," and it was yellow legal pad. She responded, "Yes." And on the side of the front page, it said, "Jesus is love." And she responded, "No, God is love." And then he said, "Well, God is love." This guy's a nut job. Can you imagine talking to your whoever's a doctor and just
murderer,
and she said, "Yes, I know that." And he said, "Okay, so now this is not a hoax. You know this is not a hoax call." Which, if you go back and you read all the phone calls, that is one of the main things that he always says. He wants to make sure that they know that he is the one, and it's, not a hoax call.
Like it gives him something.
Yeah. And I did notice that throughout all the calls. Yeah. He says, "I'm trying to do everything possible to answer some of your prayers, so please, in the name of God, work with us here." So he's talking about him and Shari. And her mother responded, "Can you please answer me one question? You are very kind, and you seem to be a compassionate person." Bullshit. "And I think you know how I feel being Shari's mother and how I love her. Can you tell me, is she all right physically without her medication?" So he replies, "Shari is drinking a little over 2 gallons of water per hour and using the bathroom right after. I've got to hurry now. Okay, now, this has gone too far. Please forgive me. Have an ambulance ready at any time at your house." And on Shari's request, she requests that only immediate family come and Sheriff Metz and the ambulance attendants. That's it. She don't want to make a circus out of this. And her mom responds, "Oh, right, okay." And where she said casket, and he says, and where she said casket closed. Why can't I say that word? Casket closed in parentheses. If anything happens to me, she said one of her requests she did not put in there was to put her hands on her stomach, cross her hands like she was praying in the casket. And that just...
The fact that he still tells them this stuff. Like,
yes. And you were sitting there listening to this shit and trying to be calm because you want him called and you can't say what you really want to say.
Oh my God.
And she replies, "We don't want any harm to you, I promise. I just want Shari well and all right, okay?" He responded, Okay, listen real carefully. I've got to hurry. I know these calls are being traced, correct? Okay, now listen. Listen to the dogs bark." No, he didn't say that. "Is Shari with you, or can you tell me that?" He says, "I will not say." "Okay, now listen to us, please. You're looking in the wrong place. Forget Lexington County. Look in, I don't want to say this wrong. Sedalia? Is that how you say that? I'll get a bunch of people saying. Saluda County. Do you understand?" And she repeated, "Look in Saluda." "Exactly. Closest to Lexington County within 15-mile radius, right over the line. Is that understood?" She responded, "Yes." And the call just goes on and on. He says, the one thing that he says that really got to me, and then I knew, and I think you guys will. He says, "I want to tell you one other thing. Shari is now a part of me physically, mentally, and emotionally, as well as spiritually. Our souls are now one."
That's what makes me think of the necrophiliac stuff that I've read about.
Yeah,
For him to say that, And it's an emotional attachment to something after it's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Sexually and emotionally.
Yeah. It's just, yeah.
Fucking whack.
And he, and the call sings, Shari is protected, and like I said, she is a part of me now. God looks after all of us. Good night. I mean, that was it. Again, the call was traced. This was 8 miles from the Smith home, and again, he was long gone, and no evidence was left behind. There was another phone call, and this one was traced, and it was pretty much the same kind of crazy stuff. And this was traced to a phone booth outside of a fast fare store at Jake's Landing on Highway 6 near Lake Murray, which is about 9 miles from the Smith home. And once again, the caller disappeared with no evidence. And actually, they began a manhunt around that area. Roadblocks were set up by the sides of Lake Murray Dam, but he was long gone. Yeah. So this one, the phone call that comes in, and as this is all going on, they're just doing searches and everything like that. So 5 days later, after Shari's abduction, Wednesday, June 5th at 11:54 a.m., a call came in abruptly to the Smith home. Shari's mother answered, and my Kindle just went off. This one, he says, she answers the phone, hello. He says, listen carefully, take Highway 378 west to Traffic Circle, take Prosperity exit, go 1.5 miles, turn right at the sign, Masonic Lodge 103, go 1/4 mile, turn left at the white frame building, go to the backyard, 6 feet beyond, we're waiting. God chose us. And that was it. And that was where they found Shari's body.
Messed up. And she was pretty decomposed. Like, she had only been dead for... They pretty much said she was dead 12 hours after she was captured.
Yeah, they figured that she had been...
So he was dead. She was dead the first time he called.
Yeah.
She was already dead when he called to her parents.
And the crime scene went, found her. And it was like 100 degrees.
Yeah.
It was hot.
What, August or July?
And
June for school graduation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So really quick, the cause of death could not be determined with exact medical certainty because of the number of variables. One, the fact that the body was found in an extreme hot area, that she had been for at least 3 to 4 days, which produced decomposition that destroyed much of the evidence needed to determine the cause of death and a more precise time of death. The deceased had a medical condition which would have led to death in 1 or 2 days if she was unable to drink sufficient fluids or take her medication. And 3, the autopsy findings of asphyxia are the more general type that could be produced by other conditions. The findings present at the autopsy would fit with a number of causes of death. The 2 most likely causes extreme dehydration, which is with associated electrolyte imbalance causing cardiac arrest, and asphyxia due to soft ligature strangulation or smothering. It is therefore, and this is the forensic guy talking, it is therefore my opinion, in light of history of the case and post-mortem and autopsy findings, the cause of death best left undetermined. But as far as the manner of death, since the death occurred during abduction, the manner of death will still be homicide, regardless of whether it is due to depriving the deceased of water or from some type of homicidal asphyxia. So, now they're afraid that he's going to do it again.
And they still don't know where he's at.
And
Well, they think it's his sister or her sister. Remember?
Is the next one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Next victim.
Well, what? Yeah.
Because he keeps calling them.
Well, this next phone call that he actually does was on the morning of June 6th. he called a senior investigative reporter at a local TV station, Charlie Keys, and he told Charlie that he was going to turn himself in and wanted the reporter to be with Sheriff Metz. He had something with Metz, too.
Yeah.
Because he always brought him up.
Right.
Always wanted him wherever.
Right.
And I think that was another control thing.
Right.
But he's saying that he's going to call the sheriff's home. He even gave the sheriff's phone number. And told the reporter he wanted him to answer, but he wanted the reporter to reconfirm the phone number over the TV to make sure he had it right. So, I mean, when I was reading through all this stuff, it was like, some of it was kind of confusing, and I think he was a little confused himself about what he wanted everything done a certain way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that was the power. He probably liked having that power.
Yeah.
To be able to make anybody do what he wanted to do.
Right.
Knowing that they would, or didn't have a choice.
Out of
Right.
fear,
Exactly.
out of being scared.
Yeah. He liked scaring people. For
Yeah.
Sure. Like that mental torture.
Right.
So he wanted the reporter to announce to the viewers that if they had any information on Shari, to call Sheriff Metz home at 7 o'clock that night. But, this Charlie guy's like, I can't put his his home phone number on there. But Bell also told him, the abductor also told him he wanted Shari's priest from Lexington Baptist to be there, to be present also.
What?
He told the reporter that things just went bad with Shari. It was a mistake and went too far. He also said he wanted to be taken alive, and you will be the only reporter. I don't want to make a circus out of this. And he said he would give Charlie an exclusive interview about the abduction of Shari if he did all this. He ended the call saying, "God bless us all."
He did that a lot.
Mm-hmm. He thought he was Jesus,
Yeah.
the Son of God, is what he thought. What
Probably
later
with
came
the
out
power
in the trial.
and the control that he was having.
Yeah.
Of drugs.
Yeah. So at 8:57 p.m. that same evening, the Smith family's phone rang again. Now this is really bad. It was a collect call for Dawn, her older sister. And he informed Dawn that he was turning himself in the next morning. He said that Shari asked him to turn himself in on the 5th day after they found her, which that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said that he needed to get himself straight with God. He then told her that he had sent her and the reporter, Charlie Keys, a letter with pictures of Shari. He proceeded to tell her he was going to kill himself. Now, as a Christian, and from what I've read, that the Smith family was very devout Christians.
Yeah.
But I think they also wanted to see him get his due.
Yeah.
So, she pretty much, told him that she didn't want him to kill himself. And he, was responding with he couldn't live in prison for the rest of his life or go to the electric chair. And he was an electrician, too. He then told Dawn that Shari didn't cry the entire time. She was very strong, and she didn't want to ruin their lives. He said that he had never lied to the family and that everything that he said was true. He also told Shari he also told her that Shari knew that she was going to be an angel and wasn't afraid. He said that Shari told him that she would forgive him and that she would see him in heaven. I mean, I call bullshit on all that. This guy's an asshole. He told her that Shari wanted her hands folded on, and he repeats what, because the funeral hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Folded on her stomach like she was praying, and as her last will and testament stated, she wanted the casket closed. I was laughing because I got casket outright. He told Dawn to take care of the gold necklace Shari had on as well, and the one earring that was left in her ear. He said that Shari did not want Richard, her boyfriend, to have the necklace. That's another bullshit.
Yeah.
Why would Shari tell her abductor,
Yeah.
tell them I don't want my boyfriend to have my necklace?
Yeah, there's no
Come
way.
on, man. And I have in all caps, piece of shit. Yeah, that's my own note. It just, some of this really pissed me off. He then asked Dawn if she could handle it if he told her how she died. And he continued to tell Dawn to be strong. He said that Shari told him all about her family. He also said that he was a family friend.
Huh.
And that he felt that that was the sad part of all of this and why he couldn't face them.
So wait, did they ever admit to knowing him?
No.
So he
No.
was just talking out his ass.
On down the road, Dawn kind of gets, she gets strong.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you about that in a minute. Yeah, she kind of calls him out on a lot of this. He said that he said that he tied her to the bedpost with electric cord. She didn't cry or struggle. Bullshit. He said that Shari let him duct tape and wrap it around her head and suffocate her. He said to tell the coroner or get the information out of how she really died. He said that he was unaware of her disease. So he contradicts himself.
Yeah.
He knew about her disease and said that he made her drink all that water and all that stuff.
Well, she was already dead.
She was already
Yeah.
dead. He said that he said that he had known he probably wouldn't have taken her if he would have known about her disease. Again. He said it just got out of hand. And he said that he was there the Saturday morning of the search. So he was part of the search. And that's a big thing that I've learned with doing this.
Mm-hmm.
That a lot of these killers and stuff will involve their self in this kind of stuff, on the searches and everything.
I wonder if he was really there, though.
Who knows? The guy's a big ass liar.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. It's just, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. He kept saying that he wished that the Smith family could help him. Dawn said that they forgave him, and then I wrote ugh, because just even say that.
Yeah.
For her to even have to say that to him. She did ask if, when he killed her, if Shari was at peace. He said yes, that God was with her. Dawn then asked if Shari wrote the letter of her own free will, and he replied with, well, she sure did. He said that he gave her a choice to either shoot her, he gave her a choice of either shooting her, giving her a drug overdose, or suffocation. Dawn asked him why he had to kill Shari. He said again, it got out of hand, he got scared, but he needed to make it right so he wouldn't go to hell, which is where he's at right now.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man? He's so whacked.
Dude, it just gives me chills. This whole time I'm talking, I get little goosebumps because it's just, it's cruel what he put this family through.
Yeah.
There's a little video of him on when he was in court.
Yeah,
getting
there is.
sentenced.
Yeah, he's a whack job.
Oh, he was a weird looking fucker, man.
Yeah, and they said
I mean, you could look at him and be like, yeah, this dude's fucking whacked.
that he would be growing facial hair and everything after he killed her, too, and he ended up having a bunch of facial hair, too, and stuff, didn't he? Didn't he have
Yeah.
a beard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the following evening after that was Shari's visitation, and the police had asked Dawn to more or less be a pawn, bait to try to kill, or to try to catch the killer. Yeah. Since he seemed to be, liking her.
Interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They told her to pick something of Shari's to lay at the grave. They strongly felt that the killer would attend the funeral. And they wanted to try to trap him. I didn't know this, but someone at one point yelled out from the hundreds of graveside mourners, "I'm sorry for this. I think you're here. I love you and will not hurt you. Come forward right now." Which was really dumb because it was like filled with cops. Maybe I guess they didn't know it. But the Smiths were rushed away within seconds. The man that yelled was surrounded by officers and probably taken down and cuffed and
Probably.
a few elbows and this and that. After hours of extensive questioning of the man, it turned out he was just a concerned citizen who believed he could talk to the killer and give himself up. I mean, my God, this poor family.
I just wanted him to come out.
Jeez. So, more phone calls came that afternoon of the funeral, 2:21 p.m. And the operator says, "I have a collect call from Shari. Will you pay for the call?"
Of all names to choose.
And, well, he's doing that because he's an asshole. And then she said, "From who?" And the operator said, "Shari." And she replied, "Yes." So that call pretty much consisted of him stating that they would receive 3 letters addressed to them in Shari's handwriting. Dawn did ask about Shari's class ring. And that was something that she always wore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was missing. It wasn't in her purse, in the car. And Don asked,
He probably
If-
kept it because
yeah.
they like to keep a trophy or whatever.
well, he said he didn't, and also the other earring was missing, so I'm sure he had that also.
What was she found in?
She was found in the clothes that her mom last seen her, so she had the clothing on, but the earring was missing, and then they can't find her class ring, and they really, really wanted that class ring. He said if he had it, he would have sent it like he sent everything else, which I don't understand what. I mean, he just sent her last will and testament at this point.
Yeah.
Don then asked him the question, where did Shari die? He kept saying Lexington County, but then when Don persisted, he said, number 1, I don't know exactly the location. I don't know the name of the highway, 391 or something like that. But right next to the county line, that's all I can tell you. He then told Don to set her alarm for 4:58 a.m. and that he would call next Saturday on the anniversary date and tell her the exact location. He then hung up. The call again was traced 60 miles from the Smith home. No killer and no evidence. So that call never came, and they thought he made good on, killing himself.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately on June 14th at 4:07, about 25 miles from the Smith home, and exactly 2 weeks almost to the hour that Shari was abducted, it happened again. 9-year-old Debra May Helmick was playing outside her home with her little brother and sister. A silver gray car with red racing stripes stopped in front of the trailer where the kids were playing. But 4 trailers down and across from Debra May's trailer was Ricky Morgan, who was in the kitchen. He was mixing up some orange juice, and he didn't have his air conditioner running, and he had his windows open. He glanced out the window in time to see a white male get out of the driver's side of the car and grab Debra May around the waist from the back and then took off running to his car. He yelled for the father. The kid started screaming. The little boy, her little brother, was like... Sorry about that.
Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. And so they gave chase, but it was too late. Ricky described the man as a white male, 30 to 35, 5'9", with a beer belly, closely cropped brown beard and mustache, and brown receding hairline.
So they finally had somewhat of a description by now.
Yeah, because it's the receding hairline and the age.
Yeah.
Things are starting to add up a little bit. And actually, from the kids, they had a sketch artist. And there's pictures on the...
And it actually
on the
looks like
internet.
him.
Yeah. So 8 days after Debra May's abduction and 30 miles from the Smith home, the Smith's phone rang again at 12:17 a.m. Saturday, June 22nd. It had been 14 days since Sherry's abductor and murderer had called. Once again, the operator came on the line saying, "I have a collect call from Sharon Faye Smith." And Don replies, "Yes, I'll take the call." He's on the line, says, "Thank you, Don. You know this isn't a hoax." What?
This dude's whacked.
Oh, yeah, he's an idiot. He's an asshole. You know this isn't a hoax, correct? Did you find Sharon Faye's ring?
He just wants to keep saying
Yeah.
that for some reason.
And she said no. He said, "Okay, I don't know where it is. You know that God wants you to join Sharon Faye. It's just a matter of time. This month, next month, this year, next year. You can't be protected all the time. And you know, have you heard about Debra May?" And I wrote, "Bastard."
Yeah.
She replied, "No." He said, "The 10-year-old. And then she said, "Richland County." He said, "Yeah. Go 1 north, well, Bill's Grill. Go 3.5 miles through Gilbert. Turn right, last dirt road before you come to a stop sign at 2 Notch Road. Go through the chain and no trespassing sign. Go 50 yards. Debra May is waiting. God forgive us all."
So fucked up.
So he's given directions to her. She replies, "Hey, listen." He said, "What?" She said, "Just out of curiosity, how old are you?" He replied, "Don E. Your time is near. God forgive us and protect us all. Good night now, Don E. Smith." And she said, "Wait, what happened to the pictures you were going to send?" And he replied, "The FBI must have them." She said, "No, sir, because when they have something, we get it. Are you going to send them? I think you're jerking me around because you said they were coming and they're not here." He says, "Don E. Smith, I must go." Ugh, that just... Can you imagine some creepy ass saying that shit to you?
What does that even mean? Donnie Smith.
That's her name.
That's her name. Dawn E. is her initial,
okay.
and Smith.
Jesus Christ.
It did.
It's late.
It's late.
Around here.
It is
okay?
very late.
Get with the program.
And
Literally.
she says, "Listen, you said you were going to get it, and you did not give me the photos." He said, "Good night, Don. I'll talk to you later." He hung up. The call again was traced 50 miles from the Smith home. No killer, no evidence. As with when the crimes...
I think they would put some cameras up at these freaking payphones by now.
Well, shit,
Well, it's
man.
the
Back
80s.
then, it's the 80s. There's freaking
didn't even have cell
payphones
phones.
everywhere.
Yeah, you're right. Obviously, he needed to fucking use a payphone.
Yeah.
Well, they said he knew, like, he could, like, almost sense when he's been on the phone too
Yeah,
long.
he was probably timing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he knew that it was being traced and listened
And he knew
to.
as soon
Right.
as he hung up, he was gone.
As with Shari, the crime scene investigators arrived to the directions Bell gave Dawn, and they found Debra May. Suffocation was a prime possibility as cause of death. And it kind of goes on, but you can get the gist. It's pretty much the same as what happened with Shari. And Debra May's family did not have a phone.
Really?
But even if they did have a phone, in my mind, I think he had an attraction to Dawn and he was just still tormenting them.
The blue-eyed, blonde hair, because Debra May was
Yeah.
blue-eyed
Yeah.
and blonde hair, too. And
Yeah, it was just the age difference. Yeah. I thought you were getting ready to say something.
No, I won't yet.
Oh,
I won't
okay.
yet.
The Smith family did attend Debra May's funeral, even though they had never met the family, but they actually had a connection.
Well, the police knew right off the bat. They figured they were dealing with the same guy, just by the way it all looked before.
Oh, yeah, they did.
They
yeah.
knew before he said anything to Dawn.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's I can't imagine. And like in Ohio right now, all these missing cases are coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Start carrying mace around, dude. It's getting bad around her.
Now
Seriously.
I got my concealed carry, so, and I ain't afraid to use it at all. It had been 27 days since Sherry's abduction, and 13 days since Debra May's abduction, and it finally ended. An investigative team, and this is pretty cool how they caught him.
yeah, it was cool how they got him.
So the legal pad, that she had wrote her last will and testament, and they ended up okay. So the way I figured it in my brain, that scary sometimes. You know how you can, like if you've got a pad or something and you write something down, the pressure.
Indentions.
And then, the indentions. Kind of like when you do, what is it called? When you go to the cemetery and you do the...
Pencil over the...
Yeah, pencil over.
gravestone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's more high-tech
Right.
than that, what they
It's a
did.
good way to explain it, though.
But they ended up finding a phone number, and they got all the numbers but the last one. So they went through, and they placed a call to the a number in Alabama, and asked the party if they knew anyone in South Carolina. And they said yes. My mother and father live in, how do you say that?
Saluda.
Saluda. Why? Casket and Saluda. I'm having a really hard time with today. And he said, yes, my mother and father, Ellis and Sharon Shepherd. Quickly, authorities zoomed in on the Shepherds, and Wednesday evening, June 26th, they established contact with the couple. Almost instantly, the authorities knew that this happily married couple in their 40s were no part of these horrendous crimes.
Well, they're on vacation.
Right.
Yeah.
They weren't even there.
Right.
Guess who was watching the house?
Yeah, exactly.
Larry fucking Bell.
Yep. And
And how many miles
Well,
away was
they
he?
brought his name up, didn't they? Didn't he bring up his name?
the Shepherds spoke freely and openly, telling the officers, "We travel and are away from home a lot, so when we are away, we have a house sitter, dun, 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 who stays at our house. His name is Larry Jean
Bell.
Bell. Piece of
Bell.
crap.
Bitch. Bitch. You fried. You fucking fried.
They ask him about Larry.
Crispy.
They ask him about Larry Jean Bell. They describe Bell as 36 years old, white male, 5'10", with a sort of flabby belly, ruddy complexion, reddish brown hair, short and close crop beard, and mustache. He weighed approximately 180 pounds, but the couple said that he had lost some weight while they were gone the last time.
Well, the guy said all he wanted to talk about was them two girls when they got picked up from the airport.
Yep. So they pretty much ended up finding their man. And that's how they found him.
Yeah, they figured out where he was from there. Probably wasn't too hard once they had his actual name.
Right. I mean...
Yeah, they found some blonde hairs and some other shit. And they found the duck stamp. The duck stamp.
Yep.
Yeah.
He used the grocery list because they actually found the list that was in the house that he ripped off or whatever. And she wrote her.
The fact that she was
last
there,
will
and
and
it wasn't
testament
very
or
far
whatever.
from the house that she lived at.
I'd have to move out of that fucking house. I'd be like, dude, what? We'd have to move out. I couldn't live in there.
And that bed, she was tied? She was tied to that bed.
I don't know.
There was a bed that they
Yeah.
said she was tied to in there. before he moved her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't live in that house no more. I'd be like, shit, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Bad juju in this house.
I'll tell you what, man.
So his sentencing was.
Well, in February, okay, so,
Death.
I know.
well, a little bit about him real quick. Because
let's give him back to the sheriff for a minute. Didn't he have some other charges, previous charges?
Yeah.
Well, he was.
So that was probably his deal with the sheriff. It was probably that sheriff that
Probably.
busted him.
Larry Gene Bell
Months.
was. Yeah,
Yep.
he was born in Ralph, Alabama, and had 3 sisters and 1 brother. They reportedly moved a lot. And he joined the Marines in 1970, but was discharged the same year due to a knee injury suffered when he accidentally shot himself while cleaning his gun.
Whoops.
Shame. Too bad he didn't shoot
himself
up.
in the head.
Yeah, I shouldn't say that, but yeah, I should.
People be alive if he did.
The following year, he worked as a correctional officer at the Department of Corrections in Columbia for about a month. And
The fact that he worked as a correctional officer.
he was also, and I could not find a lot about this, he's also suspected of killing someone else. A 23-year-old. I don't know where it's at. But anyway, he was suspected of killing someone else. He also was in trouble for assault against some guy. I mean, so he wasn't, the best citizen or whatever.
Right.
But they said he did everything that he possibly... what really pissed me off was he put the family through, I'm going to turn myself in.
Right.
This and that. And then when the trial comes, which it was a long ordeal, I think they ended up having to move it out of that county. And the thing with her wanting to know where he killed Shari is because it was 2 different police district things.
Right.
So they really wanted to know where he was going to be prosecuted or whatever.
Right.
But they said that he was just really whacked out, during the trial, saying crazy stuff. During the investigation, when they brought him in to investigate him and stuff in the interrogation room, I mean, he never gave him anything, they never got anything out of it.
Right.
Hours and hours and hours. He would just talk in circles,
Probably on purpose to make himself look crazier than what he really was.
Right. But
He was a crazy looking dude.
Yeah, he was a bit interesting.
yeah.
I'll say interesting.
I don't know. It's just, it was a sad one. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, that was some lucky numbers for them to actually crack the case that way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Larry.
They're lucky they only had to figure one of them out.
For all his saying that he didn't want to be in prison or he didn't want to, be put in the chair. I believe the chair that he was put into was called Old Sparky. I do. I think that's what it was. I think he was the last one to be executed.
That's fucking awesome. I know a couple people that need to go see Old Sparky.
Oh, God.
But somebody that uses... I just have no stomach for people who use God to do shitty things.
Yeah.
Or kids or animals.
Yeah.
That's my 3 big pet peeves.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely burned, though.
Yep. Yep. So that is...
I know, and he got it twice. Like, how do they get it? How do you get the electric chair
Yeah, because he had to get sentenced twice. But no, they
hit
said
him again. Oh shit!
Is he dead? Yep. Oh, he's got one more.
He got sentenced already. He's got to get hit again.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, we're hitting him. Well, he was the last. He was the last one.
Terrible Sparky.
He was the last one to ever get the get the chair in South Carolina.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is, I wanted to find this. I found it. Bell was also suspected of a third killing, that of Sandy Elaine Cornett, a 26-year-old insurance adjuster and part-time model from Charlotte, North Carolina. He denied abducting and killing her, but teased investigators with description of where Cornett's body, but police never found her. And then Bell's lawyers had argued in appeals that the former electrician was too mentally ill to be executed.
See,
Really?
and that's probably what he was trying to do when he was
Yeah.
talking in circles and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was smart. He
Mental.
was smart enough to go
Crazy.
to a new payphone every time.
If you're smart enough to be an electrician, you know you're capable.
Well, mental health experts and Bell's lawyers had said he was schizophrenic. No shit. Believed he was Jesus and wanted to die in an electric chair because he saw it as a direct path to heaven and God's throne.
There you go, buddy.
Yep, you got what you asked for, but you're...
You're.
Yeah. I can't remember where I read that, but I did read that. That it was old Sparky.
Have a seat, you old Sparky.
Jesus. He didn't have any last words either, as far as I
No,
know.
he didn't. Yeah.
God
But-
rest their souls, though.
But he was the last death row inmate in South Carolina, executed in the,
Old Sparky.
yeah. Where did I see that? I did see that, though. So that's
Hit him one more time. The last one. Just hit it
We
again.
don't even get to use this thing anymore.
Give old Sparky a good one.
We'll be putting pictures and stuff up on Facebook of previous podcasts, too. We're going to catch up on that and get you guys caught up.
Yeah, it's been a little cray-cray around here, but I think everybody's been, you know...
Everybody's doing
Quarantine
good.
Nation.
Back to work and
Yeah, they've opened up Ohio a little bit more, and hopefully you guys are healthy, and
get out there.
yeah.
Don't be afraid. Like, subscribe, share. Find us on Facebook, Anchor, YouTube, Budsprout, iTunes, Spotify. Should I go on? We're on a lot of outlets.
Yeah, and if you want to see something really creepy, go to my Facebook page and look at the picture of the fire I posted and tell me what you think, because that shit was deranged. That scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, it was pretty messed up.
Yeah, it's pretty wild photo, so go check it out.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
That was
Jinx.
crazy.
I know. From
See ya.
the
Deranged Nation.
1980s. Jinx.
You've been listening to the Deranged Nation podcast. Join us every Wednesday night for a new episode as we bring you true crime, unsolved mysteries, and other deranged stories. This episode was sponsored by Braps MX and ATV Pro Shop. Visit them at brapsmx.pro. Also, visit our host, teresagableman.com, New York Times best-selling paranormal romance author of the Protectors series, available on amazon.com. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.